last week, Friday, everybody was supposed to turn in your little 3x5 cards. On that card, you gave me your name, the name of your company that you're creating, your company name, the kind of shoe that you go on. What's the market? Who is your target market? That's what you're putting on the card, the three things. Your name, the name of your company, and then your target market. What kind of shoe? Are you doing baby shoes? Are you doing shoes for handicapped people? Are you doing high fashion shoes for men, women, whatever the case may be? But you created that, okay? What I want to do today is I just want to share a little bit of information for you that I hope will help you create the logo. Because once you decide on who you're going to market to, the next thing, and you got a name, remember the name needs to be appropriate to the people that you're trying to reach. You know, if you're doing baby shoes, then you don't want to have a name that speaks to heavy-duty boots. That sounds like that. Or if you're doing something that's very masculine, you don't want to have a very feminine name. Okay? So the name ought to be suggestive of whoever it is you're speaking to, the target audience. Okay? A couple of quick points I wanted to share with you in terms of this. So it's obvious then. What I'd like to do, would you get the device for me? Okay. You're designing and marketing a brand of shoes. Create your own shoe design and logo. Okay? The things that you're planning that we're going to try to teach and hopefully you're going to learn is learn these digital design tools and concepts. That's text and font, because right now you're doing a drawing. Every good design starts with a pencil drawing. And that's the part, that's where you are right now. Okay? If you don't have a template from what we did last week, then let me know so I can get you one. But I think everybody's got a template, and from what I've seen so far walking around the room, everybody's doing a good job and is way down the road in this. But once we do that and you finish your design, then we're going to be scanning your design into the computer and putting it into Photoshop. In Photoshop, we're going to be spending more time on text and fonts, but even right now, these two elements, shape and color, which are elements of design, are critically important. How you shape it. Remember we talked about like the FedEx logo, specific font that always shows up the same way every time, right down to it's called PMS colors. That purple is a specific kind of purple, the orange is specific. It always shows up, whether it's on a truck, on the side of their coats, whatever it might be, on the side of the plane, it always looks the same. We're going to talk about something called visual hierarchy and then contrast. And when we get into Photoshop, we're going to also learn about this thing called pen tool. Okay? Some background information on where we are and what we're trying to accomplish. We talked about this. You own a manufacturing company that specializes in shoes and other related products. That's the premise that we're working on. And then you must decide again who your target market is. Old people, young people, sports people. If you're thinking about sports, sports is too broad to say I just do sports shoes. I want you to narrow it down and I do football shoes. I do running shoes. And maybe even running shoes for women, or whatever the case may be. You're going to come up with an appropriate name for your company. Again, that's what I was talking about a minute ago. If you're going to baby shoes, then you want to have a name that fits baby shoes. If you're going for high fashion women, there's a name that fits that. And then you're designing a logo that represents your company's brand. Again, thinking off of the idea of some of the things, and I'm going to give you some tips on logo in just a minute. Design a shoe that your company will produce. That's the part that you're drawing right now. Okay? I know this may be small and you can't see it, but these are the elements of design, and we'll talk about them a lot throughout this class. But the ones that are particularly interested us today or doing this project is line. It can be considered in two ways, as linear marks made with a pen or brush, or the edge created when two shapes meet, create a line. Shapes We saw shapes being positive and or negative. Remember in the demonstration last week, I showed you the African company, and they have a shape design that when you looked at it in the middle, the negative space, the white, looked like the shape of the continent of Africa. But when you looked at it further, the positive, the colors on the two sides, look like a child on the left side looking up and an adult on the right side. Okay? Those direction, horizontal, vertical, and oblique. Horizontal suggests calmness, stability, tranquility. Vertical lines gives a sense of balance, formality, and alertness. And then if you do oblique, it suggests movement and or action. Okay, texture, we talked about that, that you can add texture. Maybe your shoes will be suede, or maybe your shoes are going to be leather. They're going to have diamonds on it. Some of you have already designed in flowers on your shoes. But those things create texture. Color, and I want to spend a little bit more time on that in just a minute when I talk to here. Be unique and clever. Okay? Unique. Your design ought to be your design. It ought to suggest your name, what you're trying to accomplish. When the people see your name, it ought to suggest the kind of market you're going after. It ought to say something about the shoe. Okay? A logo is what helps distinguish a brand from its competitors. So it's important that the image stand out from the rest, something many brands struggle with. You got to understand your brand. A logo is an image, but it's also an introduction to the brand. If you're trying to reach a specific audience when designing, you must keep this in mind. So if we're going after men, adult men that are stylish, that's one market versus adult men who are trying to be casual. Okay? Another tip, color is key. I just mentioned that. When taking the brand's personality into account, you should think about every aspect of the image. You know, we talked early, a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about what's the color of stop. What's the color that would represent stop? What about red? Okay? So whenever you come to a stop sign, even if you didn't know, anywhere, almost in any country, a stop sign is always going to be red. What's the color of go?
Green.
Green. Good, good. Okay? What's the color of caution?
Yellow.
Yellow. Okay? If you're trying to buy a gift for a young male child, what color might you be safe in buying? Blue. Okay? If you're buying for a young female, pink. These things have become natural colors that we assume to be correct. That doesn't mean that everything blue is for a man and everything pink is for a lady, but those are some assumptions that you could use to help you create a design and have it speak to people, because the colors already mean something to people. The psychology of color. Some people did a study and they came up with the idea that red is energetic, sexy, bold. So think about that if you're going to use red, or you're trying to do something in your high heel shoes for the women. If you want them sexy or energetic, then you might think about using some form of red. Orange represent creativity, friendly, youthful. People tend to respond to yellow as being sunny, inventive, optimistic. Green, in terms of what we're doing in terms of a logo, growth or organic. So if you've got a shoe that speaks to the organic market, or it's good for your shoe, it's good for your feet, you can walk a long way. You might think about using something in the color of green, or using green in there. Blue, professional, medical, tranquil, and trustworthy are some of the key words that come about when you're using that particular color. Purple, representative, spiritual. Some of the words that come to mind then are spiritual, wise, evocative. Black, remember we used Formula One, and we said that the black side of Formula One was powerful. And we said the red side was energetic. We talked about the speed that it evoked. Okay? It plays out in these colors. Black being incredible, powerful. White, simple, clean, and pure. Pink can be fun, flirty, and round, rural, historical, steady. Okay? So playing with colors. These are not absolute, but these will lead you in the right direction if in fact you are thinking about how you want to use colors and how people tend to respond to a certain color. Okay? What's in a name? A name could be two things we talked about. It could be a word or it could be a symbol. What FedEx has done is that they've used the word. They create, Federal Express was the name of the company when Fred Smith first started it out. He simplified it and they made it FedEx, and then when we studied it last week, we found out that it had an arrow inside the name that indicated speed, etc., that kind of thing. Okay, IBM simply uses its initials, IBM, and that becomes its logo. But it's presented in a very specific way, a very specific font, always uppercase, etc. Okay? So Coca-Cola is a name, and its logo is its name. But the way Coca-Cola is presented, the kind of font that it uses, and the way they spell it out, and the colors they use, the white on red, you can see Coca-Cola anywhere. And even if you didn't use the color, Coca-Cola, the way they present the name, it shows up and it's always going to be recognized. Okay? Last tip, keep it simple, easy, and flexible. It's important to have balanced combination of simple and quirky. Make it a little bit different. Somebody, not in this class, but in another class, was speaking about or taking on that thought process that they were going to use baby shoes. And they were talking about a name like Happy Feet, but they were spelling happy, and they did happy curved in like a smile, and then in the word feet, instead of using two E's in the middle, they had two little baby feet. And the minds, if you do happy, an F and an E on the ends, 2 feet, you'll let your customers' minds, the client's mind, turn those baby feet into E's. Okay, they won't turn into E's specifically, but they'll read them and they'll understand what you're trying to communicate. Okay, but it's a logo. You're trying to make it a little bit quirky. That was the word they used here. So you want to make it yours. So you got to do some things to make it really, really unique. Okay, would you turn the lights on for me, please? So you've already gotten your stuff out, you've got your logo, everybody's got it. If you did not turn in your card on Friday, I need you to turn that card in, the 3x5 card. Okay, that's your company and the kind of market, the target market you're going after. Okay, it could be whatever if I'm going after football and I'm making football cleats, then I'm after that. That's the kind of market I'm going after. If I'm doing high fashion, I may be doing men's high fashion or women's high fashion. All right? But I'm sorry, Mr. Pratt. Okay? So whatever kind of shoe you're going after. So if I'm only asking for a couple of things, about 3 things on that card. Your name, be sure you put your name, the name of your company, and then the market you're going after. Everybody understand? Okay. Go ahead and give me that. The rest of you, go ahead and get started on, or continue working on your shoe design, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, and I can start now. I can just help you with your Did I meet anybody else? Okay. That's what we got. So now we can just kind of go ahead and okay. I'll come pick them up in a minute. Okay, I appreciate your attention. Let's go ahead and I'll come around and work with anybody that needs help. Does anybody need a template? Remember, if you cannot draw, and I showed you, you saw one of the shoes that I showed you, that we could do that. Or maybe we go on the internet and find something that's similar to you. Please keep in mind, you cannot take anybody else's logo. So if somebody has, if you're doing athletic shoes, if you do a Nike, you want to start with a Nike, you got to do it swoosh right away. It doesn't even exist on it. And then if you're taking somebody's shoe, you can't trace the shoe and then give me the shoe and say it's yours. You got to have to bring it to the shoe. So if the shoe is a lace up, you might make it a slip on. If it's made out of canvas, you might make it out of leather. Put on there, you put in your name, the name of your company, and the kind of market you're going after. What kind of shoe are you creating? Right? A pencil? Look at the little bucket right behind my desk. Okay? So I'll go ahead and help anybody individual engagement.